On our anniversary, I overheard my fiancée whisper to her friend on the balcony, "He's just my backup plan. I'll leave once I'm secure." They clinked glasses while I lit the candles and sighed. I said nothing. I just waited. 1 week later, her friend contacted me. "She's panicking. What did you do?" I, 32M, thought I was living the perfect life until exactly 1 week ago. My fiancée and I had been together for 3 years, engaged for 6 months. Our anniversary dinner was supposed to be special. I'd spent weeks planning it, booked her favorite restaurant, bought wine that cost more than my monthly car payment. But food poisoning hit her that morning, so we decided to celebrate at home instead. I was in the kitchen, lighting the candles on our dining table, when I heard voices drifting from the balcony. She was out there with her best friend, who'd stopped by earlier with flowers and congratulations. The sliding door was slightly open, and their conversation carried clearly through the evening air. Her friend asked if she was excited about the engagement, about our future together. What I heard next stopped my heart cold. She told her friend that I was just her backup plan, that she'd been seeing someone else, someone with real money, real prospects. She was only staying with me until things got serious with him, until she felt secure enough to leave. She laughed when she said I was so pathetic, so devoted, that I'd probably still help her move out if she asked nicely. They clinked their wine glasses like they were toasting my stupidity. I stood there frozen, candle lighter in my hand, listening to the woman I thought I'd marry describe our entire relationship as a convenience. She called me safe, boring, predictable, said I was the kind of man women settle for when they can't get what they really want. The candles flickered to life one by one as I processed what I'd heard. 3 years of my life. The ring that took me 4 months of overtime to afford. The apartment lease I'd co-signed just last month. All of it built on a lie. When they came back inside, I was sitting at the table, smiling. I asked her friend if she wanted to stay for dinner, told her there was plenty of food. My fiancée seemed surprised by how normal I was acting, but I could see relief in her eyes. She thought she'd dodged a bullet. We had dinner. I poured wine. I laughed at her friend's stories. I even proposed a toast to our future, our real future, whatever that might be. Neither of them suspected I'd heard anything. That night, after her friend left, I lay awake planning. Not revenge, exactly. Just consequences. The next morning, I started making calls. First to the wedding venue, canceled, with a believable story about family illness. Then the caterer, the photographer, the florist. Each cancellation came with fees, but I'd rather lose deposits than lose my dignity. I called my bank and moved my savings to an account she couldn't access, transferred my half of our joint checking into my personal account, changed my direct deposit back to my old account. By lunch, she was financially untangled from me, though she didn't know it yet. The hardest call was to my landlord. Our lease wasn't up for 8 months, but I explained the situation carefully. He was surprisingly understanding. Apparently, his own daughter had gone through something similar. He agreed to let me transfer the lease entirely to her name, but only if she qualified independently. Without my income, her salary as a part-time administrative assistant wouldn't cover the rent. I spent the afternoon apartment hunting. Found a small 1-bedroom across town, available immediately. Signed the lease, paid the deposit in cash. Set my move-in date for the following weekend. That evening, she asked if I seemed distant. I told her I was just stressed about work, maybe coming down with something. She bought it completely, even offered to make me soup. The caring act almost made me laugh. Over the next few days, I quietly moved my most important belongings. Photo albums, documents, my grandmother's jewelry, things she might destroy in anger. I took them to my new place during my lunch breaks, just a few boxes at a time. Thursday night, she went out with her friend again. Same friend who'd been on the balcony. I wondered if they talked about me, about her other man, about her escape plan. I wondered if she felt any guilt at all. Friday was moving day. I'd arranged to take the day off, told her I had to work late. When she left for her job, I called the movers I'd hired. Professional, efficient, discreet. They had my life packed and loaded in 4 hours. I left her things exactly as they were. Took only what was mine, nothing more. No petty theft, no destruction, no dramatic notes. Just my clothes, my books, my furniture, my life. The only thing I left behind was the engagement ring, sitting on her pillow where she'd find it immediately. No explanation, no goodbye letter. She was smart enough to figure it out. I was unpacking boxes in my new apartment when my phone started buzzing. Her number, over and over. I declined every call. Then came the texts, confused at first, then angry, then panicked. She wanted to know where I was, where my stuff was, why I wasn't answering. I turned off my phone and spent the weekend in peace. Update 1. Monday morning brought the call I'd been expecting, but not from who I expected. Her friend, the same one who'd been on the balcony, called my work number. She sounded frantic when she asked if I could talk. She told me my fiancé was panicking, that something had happened, but she wouldn't say what. Then she asked the question that made this all worthwhile. What did you do? I told her I didn't know what she meant. Said I'd been busy with work, hadn't talked to my fiancé much over the weekend. Asked if everything was okay, if there was something I should know about. The silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. Finally, she said my fiancé had been trying to reach me for days, that she seemed scared about something. She asked if we'd had a fight, if something had happened between us. I played dumb perfectly. Told her that as far as I knew, everything was fine. Said I'd been meaning to call, but work had been crazy. Asked if I should be worried, if there was something my fiancé wasn't telling me. Her friend didn't know how to respond. She clearly knew more than she was letting on, but she also couldn't figure out what I knew. She ended the call by saying she was sure it was nothing, that she was probably overreacting. I hung up and smiled for the first time in a week. That afternoon, I got a text from an unknown number. It was my ex-fiancé, using her friend's phone. She begged me to call her, said we needed to talk, that there had been some kind of misunderstanding. She promised she could explain everything if I'd just give her a chance. I deleted the message without responding. Tuesday brought a visit to my office. She must have called in sick to her own job because she was waiting in the lobby when I got back from lunch. Security had to escort her out when she started making a scene, demanding to know why I was ignoring her. That evening, she was waiting by my car in the parking garage. She looked terrible, like she hadn't slept in days. Her eyes were red, her hair unwashed. She grabbed my arm when I tried to walk past her and asked what she'd done wrong. I looked at her with the same expression I'd give a stranger who'd grabbed me on the street. Asked who she was and why she was touching me. The confusion in her face was beautiful. She stammered that she was my fiancé, that we lived together, that she didn't understand why I was acting like this. I told her I thought she had me confused with someone else. Said I lived alone, had been single for months. Asked if she needed help, if there was someone I could call for her. The look of horror in her eyes was everything I'd hoped for. She pulled out her phone, started scrolling through photos of us together, trying to prove our relationship. I glanced at them politely and said they must be very old pictures, that I didn't remember taking them. Suggested maybe she should talk to someone about her memory problems. When she started crying, I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not guilt, not pity. Just nothing. Update 2. Wednesday night, her friend called me again. This time she was angry, accusatory. She said she knew I was lying, that something had happened, that I was deliberately hurting someone who loved me. I let her vent for a few minutes, then asked calmly if she was sure we were talking about the same person. Told her I'd never been engaged, never lived with anyone, certainly never hurt anyone who loved me. Said maybe she had the wrong number. She hung up on me. Thursday brought the breakthrough I'd been waiting for. My ex-fiancé's other man, her real plan, finally made his move. She'd been so desperate to reach me, so panicked about our broken engagement, that she'd been neglecting him. Apparently, he didn't like competing for attention. Her friend called to tell me this, probably hoping it would make me feel guilty enough to take her back. She explained that my ex-fiancé had been seeing someone else, someone important, but that relationship had just ended badly. She was devastated, alone, and needed me now more than ever. I asked who she was talking about. Said this all sounded very dramatic, but I still didn't know what any of it had to do with me. Suggested maybe she should call someone who actually knew this person she kept mentioning. The frustration in her voice was delicious. She accused me of being cruel, of playing games with someone's heart. I told her I wasn't playing anything, that I genuinely didn't understand who she was talking about or why she kept calling me. Before she hung up, she said something that made my day. My ex-fiancé was convinced I'd found out about her other relationship somehow, that I was punishing her for it. She was terrified I was going to expose her to her family, her co-workers, everyone who thought she was the perfect girlfriend. I hadn't planned on doing any of that, but knowing she was afraid of it was almost as good as actually doing it. Update 3. Friday was exactly 1 week since I'd moved out. My ex-fiancé showed up at my new apartment building somehow, probably followed me from work. The security guard called up to ask if I was expecting a visitor who claimed to be my fiancé. I told him I'd never been engaged and had no idea who this person was. Asked if she seemed unstable, if they needed to call someone for help. He assured me they'd handle it and advised me to call the police if she bothered me again. Saturday morning brought the final piece of the puzzle. Her friend called one last time, but this time she was different. Quieter. Defeated. She said she'd figured it out. Said she knew I'd heard them talking that night. Knew I'd been planning this whole thing since our anniversary. She called me calculating, manipulative, cruel. I asked what night she was referring to. Said I spent most evenings at home alone, reading or watching television. Told her it sounded like she was confusing me with someone else again. Maybe someone from a movie or a book. She started laughing then, but not the good kind. The kind of laugh that comes right before crying. She said she understood now why I was doing this. Said she probably deserved it for keeping my ex-fiancé's secret. But she begged me to consider what this was doing to her friend, how destroyed she was. I asked, very politely, what secret she was referring to. Said I was concerned about this person she kept mentioning, this ex-fiancé who seemed to be struggling with reality. Offered to give her the number for a mental health hotline if she thought it would help. She hung up without another word. Final update. It's been a month now since I disappeared from my old life. The calls have stopped. The visits have stopped. I assume my ex-fiancé has finally accepted that her backup plan has vanished completely. Last week, I ran into her at a coffee shop downtown. She was with someone new, not her former side piece, someone different entirely. Another backup plan, probably. When she saw me, she went white as paper. I ordered my coffee, smiled politely at the barista, found a seat by the window. I could feel her staring at me, could see her whispering urgently to her new companion. He kept glancing over at me, clearly confused by whatever story she was telling him. After a few minutes, she approached my table, asked if she could sit down, said we needed to talk about what had happened between us. Her voice was shaky, desperate. I looked up from my book and asked if I knew her from somewhere. Said she looked familiar, but I couldn't place where we might have met. Suggested maybe we'd been in line together at the grocery store or something. The hope in her eyes died completely. She stood there for a long moment, studying my face, looking for any crack in the facade. But I've had a month of practice now. I'm very good at looking through her like she's invisible. She walked away without another word. I finished my coffee, left a tip, and went home to my quiet apartment. No shared bills, no joint accounts, no one calling me a backup plan behind my back. Just peace. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's disappearance. I didn't ruin her life. I just removed myself from it so completely that she can't even prove I was ever there. She lost her safety net, her guaranteed fallback, her sure thing. She wanted to keep me as a backup plan while she pursued someone better. Instead, I became someone who never existed at all. The engagement ring is probably still sitting in a box somewhere in her apartment, gathering dust. Evidence of a relationship with a ghost. Sometimes I wonder if she looks at it and questions her own sanity, wonders if she imagined the whole thing. I hope she did. I hope she still does. Because that's what backup plans are for. They're only valuable when you can count on them being there when you need them. Take away that certainty, and they become worthless. Just like she made me feel. Now she knows how it feels to be completely, utterly alone with no one to catch her when she falls. No safety net. No backup plan.